Welcome to episode 84 of the Toadstool Boardroom for the week of April 3rd, 2024. My name's Logan Plant, and I'm joined this week, as always, by Justin Corais.
What's up, Logan?
As always, except for next week, where you won't be with us, but we've got you this week for an awesome topic that I'm looking forward to. And also here from his dungeon lair, Chris Shriver. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Wow, that was good. Have you been practicing that?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay,
in the mirror,
nice.
in front of my child.
Oh,
So I'd like to think his dungeon lair is like Goro from Mortal Kombat.
Ooh, you can't see it off screen. I have the cages, or like the steel bars.
Yeah, just red eyes glowing through him. Yeah,
and a four-armed being.
I thought you were our Goro.
I've been personally thinking of... Wow, that was nice. I've been personally thinking of either the dungeon in Hyrule Castle from A Link to the Past, where Link goes in like the opening moments of the game, or just Bowser's Castle. Works for me too.
Yeah,
and I'd also like to think that Logan is our Samurai Goro.
Yes, nice. When you said Goro, I did think
I know. I knew you would.
I'm glad you brought it up so I didn't have to. We've got an awesome show for you this week in the boardroom. We are going to do a little Nintendo franchise draft, which I'm really looking forward to because pretty much nothing happened this week in the world of Nintendo. So we thought we'd have a fun game and draft some Nintendo franchises. And we're also going to hear Chris's early thoughts on Princess Peach Showtime now that it's been out in the wild for a couple of weeks. But first, let's do a quick shout out. We're having another 3DS and Wii U game night. The time is TBD, so this is really a plug for you to join our Toadstool Boardroom Discord server, which we'll link to in this episode, and we'll also throw out another link on Twitter at ToadstoolBR. Because next week, Monday, April 8th, the 3DS and Wii U servers are shutting down for good. So we're having one more 3DS and Wii U game night with Kid Icarus Uprising. I might fire up the Wii U for some of the original Splatoon, and we'll see if we get any other games in there as well. But I don't know if either of you guys will be there, but I will be there for sure.
I might do the Splatoon thing. Let me check my schedule.
Okay.
If I'm there, I may be in and out. I'm watching my son solo this weekend. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
if he stays asleep, I will be there the whole time.
Just
if he doesn't,
fall asleep in your lap, and he can tap the super jump spots on the Wii U gamepad for Splatoon 1, which will be a good time. So yeah, it's going to be on Saturday, April 6th. I can tell you that. We're going to meet up sometime Saturday, probably in the early evening Pacific time, slightly later evening Eastern time. So yeah, just hop into our Toadstool Boardroom Discord server. There's a game night channel in there, and we'll be talking in there so we can play 3DS and Wii U one last time before they're gone for good. I've been playing a ton of 3DS lately, by the way. Kirby Planet Robobot, I've been remembering why I love that game so much. Oh my god. That game is still so good, and is actually topping my wish list now of games that I want to see get an HD remake, because I think that'd be a ton of fun. But let's get into Chris's thoughts on Princess Peach Showtime. Chris, how much have you played, and what do you think so far?
Not much. I played enough to, I think, have an opinion. At least like early impressions, obviously, but I feel like I've gathered that this game is not for me, and not because I think it's necessarily bad. I think this game gives me like what I'll call like Lego game syndrome, where if it's the end of the day on a weeknight and I'm like, you know what, I've got an hour to kill, I'm gonna play some Princess Peach Showtime. If I'm just tired enough, there's enough that isn't happening in this game, or this game is simplistic enough that I am just straight up falling asleep while I'm playing it, because it's like that chill. That being said, I think it's the things that it does really well is it does introduce a lot of different franchises in a really unique way, like in just like a really like great package that's pretty easily digestible for old and new players. I think if you're a new like player or younger player, it does a great job at introducing you to like, okay, here's what you might be able to expect like at a very high level from a stealth game or like stealth / ninja game, or like an endless runner. It does a really, really great job of that. And then, because then from there, if you have somebody that's like kind of your Sherpa through the gaming landscape, they can be like, oh, you like playing as Cowgirl Peach, you may like Bit Trip Runner or like Box Boy or like one of these other kinds of games. maybe like Ninja Gaiden if you like the Ninja
Red
Peach
Dead
levels.
Redemption, if you like Cowgirl Peach, hop on
Yeah.
into the Wild Wild West.
Princess
But I did
Peach, the Ninja Gaiden of the Mario Kingdom.
I did find myself like as I was playing the game though, it's like man, it's making me, whether it's the locales or it's the gameplay, like it's making me think of other kinds of games. And in that same breath, it's like I'd rather be playing those other games because I have prior experience with them. So I know like what I'm missing out on, and like what is here is very surface level in my opinion. So I think like the presentation I think is very good. But I just don't see myself like playing this to completion. I think the Patissier Peach levels are very fun. I think they're probably the standout for me. Just because it is like a different kind of puzzler, and like there is a little bit of like like a sense of urgency to it that maybe not all the levels that I've played have necessarily. But if you are a parent or guardian, or you know somebody with younger kids and they're getting into gaming and they have a Switch, I definitely think it's worth picking up. Like it's definitely one that you could play alongside them, not necessarily like co-op with them, but kind of helping them like, oh, if you go try doing the spin move and like making the flowers bloom or whatever it is that the sparkle ability.
Yeah.
I think there's something there that it's cooperative in that sense, where it's easier for a little one to play, but you can still kind of be engaged with what they're doing as well.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're landing in a pretty similar area to what I thought of it, because I thought that the different genres of it was one of the coolest parts of the whole experience, and I liked the presentation a lot, but we're 2 weeks removed from it, and I haven't had the urge at all to go back and recollect any of the sparkle gems I missed or anything. So, yep, this one's definitely, it's a shame because I think that the best Nintendo games we talk about all the time target younger and older audiences, and this one, I think, leaves older audiences behind a little bit, which is fine. That is perfectly okay for a Princess Peach game to do that, but I hope a sequel maybe takes some of these things it didn't do quite so well and polishes them up a bit. Justin, has this game debuted in your household yet?
It is not. Honestly, we'll talk about when we get to the plugs. I've been doing a lot of writing for my post-PAX coverage, so that's been my big focus. And I will say, and some of that honestly is based a little bit on feedback. I'm interested in it, but like we talked about last week, that $60 price tag is frankly a bigger barrier than I'm willing to overcome for a very 7 out of 10 looking game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one, I think Nintendo is about $10 off on all of its games this year. Like all three games they put out. I think that Another Code, I really liked that one, but it should have been 50 max for its runtime and just what it was. And then Mario vs. Donkey Kong, we talked that one to death. I would have loved to see that one at 40, and then this one I would have loved to see it at 50 also, because they're short. Nintendo's put out 3 very short games. You could beat all 3 of the first-party games they put out this year in, I don't know, 7 hours-ish each. And so Is
Peach that short?
Yeah, Peach is very short. Yeah.
Wow. She's taller than Mario.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is true. Even when he's super, I think Peach is still taller.
Yeah.
That might be the heels, though.
No, yeah, that's fair. Okay, that's fair. So that's Chris's thoughts on Princess Peach. Let's move on to our main topic of the show, which is the Nintendo franchise draft. So this wasn't really encouraged by anything specific. I've just been watching the start of baseball season. I did a fantasy draft for my baseball league, and it just had me thinking that we could do a Nintendo franchise draft where we all take turns drafting 6 Nintendo franchises each, and we'll talk about the reason why we're drafting them as we go. And then the listeners can either write into our email, toadstoolboardroom@gmail.com, or they can vote on Twitter. We'll put up a poll once the episode is out for who has the best lineup of franchises. And basically the criteria here is whatever you draft, that's all that you can play. So if Justin takes Pikmin off the board because he's fallen in love with this franchise magically over the last week, then Chris and I can't play Pikmin. So that's how it's going to work. I have randomly generated the draft order. We'll do a snake draft style, which means that it goes in reverse order on the second round and then back around again. Chris, looks like you have a question.
There's something we need to clarify, I think, before we get into this, because it could really. Well, where's the line? Like, if I say Mario,
you can't say Mario.
Is that 3D Mario? Is that 2D Mario? Is that
You can say
Mario
Super
sports
Mario,
titles?
which is
Is
any
that
Mario platformer.
any Mario platform, 2D or 3D?
Yeah, Super Mario.
So
yeah.
if I say Mario Golf, that's fine. It's not the
That's
Mario
just Mario
sports games. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yes, so I think that if there's any shady shenanigans, the other two of us can kind of put a stop to it. But I knew
Okay.
Super Mario was going to come up, so I was ready for an answer on that one. Super Mario is all Mario platformers. They're in the same series, just like A Link to the Past is in the same series as Ocarina of Time. It's all the same. I know we like to split them up a lot, but that's how this is going to go. So the draft order is going to be Justin with the first pick, myself in round 2, and then Chris Shriver will get the third and the fourth pick before we go back around. So here we go. And a little insight for the listeners. Justin's not going to be here next week. I thought he wasn't going to be here this week, so I planned my draft, and I did not account for him. So all my prep is out the window.
The draft board is in shambles.
It is, yeah. Yeah, so Justin, with the first overall pick, what are you taking here in the Nintendo franchise draft?
Oh man, this is like when you come up to the board and there's like Peyton Manning on there. You're like, you have a surefire number one. Of course, I'm going to take the Legend of Zelda franchise. Of course, I am. It's my favorite franchise on the planet. It is better than it's ever been. Also, I feel like there's no downside to taking it. It's a huge franchise. There's a lot of titles spanning a lot of variations on several genres. If this is all I could play for the rest of my life was just any Zelda game, that's not bad. that's not a terrible situation to be in from my perspective. So I am running up to the podium with my card that has a Triforce on it to get my pick in.
Yeah, and then the board comes to me really quickly. Yeah, Zelda's was the obvious first choice for me. I don't know if Chris would have picked it with his first overall selection, but yeah, I think the only downside I can really see with Zelda is that they just take so dang long to come out.
Good thing they
don't come around as often as other things do.
Yeah, good thing there's a long library to choose from in the meantime.
Yes. Yeah. So Justin grabs The Legend of Zelda. I don't think that includes Hyrule Warriors. I'm so sorry.
I was thinking that too, and I think that's fair.
Yeah. Yeah, just any game with The Legend of Zelda in the title. So I think you get the CDI games, though. So that's great for you.
Well, you know what? Any prospect always has a couple of trouble areas you need to account for and be prepared to overcome.
All right, it goes to me with pick number 2, and I'm trying to forecast what Chris is going to pick with the third and fourth pick. I think that I'm just going to grab Super Mario. I just have to take it right now.
Come on.
Oh, sorry, Chris. Yeah, I think that I am significantly lower on Super Mario than on The Legend of Zelda, but it's still the clear pick here. I think that Mario Odyssey, Mario Galaxy, some of the old 2D platformers. I love Mario Wonder. I love Super Mario Maker, so I'm excited to get these games in here. We're really being daring, guys. We're taking really shocking picks.
Well, and I will say this. Okay, so and here's my challenge to our dear listeners. When this is over, I want to know which were the reaches. And I want to know which were the like deep cut hits. The like, yeah, that's a brilliant pick. I really want to know how you guys feel about these. And said, I do feel like these were pretty safe.
You listeners are allowed to react however you want to our drafts, but I do want to say I'm shooting for some variety. I just took Super Mario, which is you've got some multiplayer in there, some single player in there. Justin got Zelda, which apart from 3 games is strictly single player. So like there's some Mario Karts out there, some Mario Parties trying to, spice up the variety if you're hosting a game night, things like that. So yeah, I'm just throwing that out there. I'm looking for variety is something that I value in a good draft. Chris, with the third and fourth, you get to go back to back here. What are you taking?
I forgot I had the next pick. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a lot of power then. Okay.
You do.
I'm going to take Mario Kart.
Yeah, I thought that would be it.
Yeah, I'm also going to take Super Smash Brothers.
Oh, that was my next pick. It's gone.
Wow.
He got me. Okay, why those two, Chris?
I mean, Mario Kart it's the gift that keeps on giving. There are definitely games within that franchise that I don't return back to. But I will say the ones that I do do often. 64, Double Dash, Wii, Mario Kart 8, even Mario Kart 7 a little. I feel like I keep trying to go back to Mario Kart 7, and then I'm like, not so much. But yeah,
agree,
I mean,
I feel like 8 just totally made 7 pretty irrelevant for me.
It's just like dwarfed 7 so hard.
Because it's so similar, but just so much better.
Yeah, like every time exactly. But the other ones, like, they have enough variety that it does keep it a little interesting. Like the track, the amount of tracks that like are just in that franchise alone, and watching it, grow as I have as a man. There's just a lot of meat on that bone, and if I have my boys over and it's Saturday night with the boys and we're hanging out, we want to get some Mario Kart in, and then we're gonna go, all right, hop over to Super Smash Brothers, and they're gonna catch some hands. I'm gonna catch some hands. It's gonna be a good time.
Some crazy hands.
Gonna catch some crazy hands.
Those are outstanding picks. I really thought you were gonna take what I guess I'm about to take next. I gotta make sure I'm not rushing this decision though, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna take Metroid with my next pick.
That was my next
high
pick.
on my board.
Yeah, I think that Metroid is kind of viewed definitely within Nintendo fandom as one of the prestige series along with Mario and Zelda. So if I can grab 2 of those, I will happily do that. I wish I had Zelda instead of Metroid, but I will take Metroid. I think that I have some of the best Nintendo games of all time with Super Metroid and Metroid Prime. I have a series that isn't dead. A few years ago, it kind of looked like it was, but there's 2 great games on Switch with hopefully a third on the way. So I think that it's a franchise that will continue to deliver new games as time goes on. I don't think Nintendo's going to ever let Metroid die completely, so I'm happy with that pick. And the Game Boy games are great too. Zero Mission and Fusion are also really good. Yeah. All right, Justin, now you get back-to-back. I hate being the only person in this snake draft that doesn't get back-to-back picks.
I love it. I love it that it's set up. Well, boy, and I am thrilled with how this draft is laying out for me right now.
Yeah, I am too.
I'm gonna go with Fire Emblem right here. I think that you could maybe make the case that this is a skosh high for the franchise in terms of its like recent output and frankly how I feel about the most recent games. But it's also one that I have a lot of belief can get back to its highest highs, and even if it doesn't, the quality of those highs is stupendous. It's a fantastic franchise. If we want to speak to something like gameplay variety, having a really, really good turn-based strategy game is something that, frankly, you're not going to find in the rest of the list of franchises very easily. I guess unless you want to go Advance Wars. Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so obviously not that. And so I adore these. They're big, long games. They have great stories, cool characters, fantastic art styles. You can, I don't know, pretend that you're playing Smash if you don't know who these characters are. It's a really solid one. And the next one, the next one might come as a bit of surprise. This is purely a matter of positional value.
Oh no! Are you about to snipe me?
And one again, it's not. This is a situation where you don't necessarily draft for like your wants. You take best player available, and in this case, that is Pokemon. The Pokemon franchise. It is so big. It is the most valuable franchise in media, perhaps.
Now, is this like mainline Pokemon games? Is that what you're taking?
Mainline only. Yep. He gets
Chris, as your friend, I will say you are entitled to Pokemon Snap if you want it.
He's dunking on us. He knows he's winning.
Oh yeah, I'm crushing this draft. But yeah, I mean, again, you want to talk about a series with iconic characters, with longevity, with cultural impact in multiple parts of the world. Something with that has conquered film and television and video gaming, and that is, when I think of like the Hall of Fame for like sports and things like that, usually my biggest criteria more than anything else is, can I tell the story of this era without including this in it? And if I can, then I don't think it's a Hall of Famer. And you absolutely cannot tell the story of the modern era of gaming without Pokemon. And so, to me, that is a slam dunk easy, yes, let me get this one in my back catalog. It may wither away a little bit wasted because it's not my favorite to play. But again, just in terms of pure value, like I would be fired as GM of this imaginary team if I did not pick up Pokemon when it's sitting right there this late in the draft.
If I'd left Pokemon if I had taken Pokemon, would you have grabbed Metroid along with your Fire Emblem?
Yes.
Yeah. I was between those two, and I decided that I think that the last 7 years of Pokemon have been so terrible that I didn't really want it. So I was going to take it with my next pick if you had left it, but I thought it was going to go
Given the choice between the two, though, I would have taken Pokemon because of franchise value.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't need Pokemon Sword and Shield on my roster. I don't need those games.
No.
Or Scarlet and Violet, but that's a big ad. So Justin is currently rocking Zelda, Fire Emblem, and Pokemon. He's had one more pick than me and Chris. I'm rocking Super Mario and Metroid, and Chris has a multiplayer suite of Mario Kart and Super Smash Brothers. Okay. This pick, I think, is actually really valuable for where it's getting drafted, but I knew Justin wasn't going to take it, and I think Chris might take it if I leave it. I'm grabbing Splatoon. I think that... Oh, it's not what board. Chris wanted.
Splatoon was on my board.
So with Splatoon, I'm getting a multiplayer game in there to go along with my Super Mario and my Metroid. And I've said it before, I think that Splatoon is just it's a mega franchise for Nintendo. It's one of their big ones, and I think that every Splatoon that comes out is a lock to hit 10 million copies sold. They all have so far, besides the original, because that was on Wii U, but 2 and 3 both did it. I don't see that changing at all. It's only growing in popularity, and it's also awesome. With Splatoon 3 alone, I have a single-player shooter, I have a roguelite side mode, I have a horde multiplayer mode, I have a card game, and I have all the multiplayer modes that exist within Splatoon 3's main multiplayer. So it's a huge, huge package of content, and I love it so much. So that's my pick.
I think honestly, I think we're seeing Splatoon arrive as a pillar for Nintendo.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the modern
and
pillar.
it's such a rare moment to occur because so many of these franchises were established so long ago.
Yep.
It's kind of nuts to see that happen.
I love to point just this example out, but if you go to any of the Nintendo retail stores, the Splatoon is as big as Mario, it's as big as Zelda, and it's as big as Animal Crossing, right? Which has not gone yet. I think that it probably will be gone by the time it gets back to me. But those 4 are the 4 big ones that Nintendo really likes to push in all of its marketing, because those are also the 4 that are developed in-house at Nintendo in Kyoto. Like Metroid is elsewhere these days, and everything else that you love is elsewhere. Like even Smash Brothers isn't internal. That's Sakurai's team over at his own freelance company. So yeah, I think that they're really pushing Splatoon, and it's not going anywhere. All right, Chris, you get back-to-back picks here.
Oh,
I know what I would do if I were you, by the way. I know exactly the 2 I would
I'm sure you do.
I hope you don't.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, this is for me. I don't really care about prestige. I'm not out here to impress anyone. This is all. This is my franchise. This is my team, right? I'm coming out here. I'm taking Donkey Kong Country, right? I need a good, solid.
I thought you might take DK sooner than this.
Yeah. I really look, the little Diddy Kong sitting right next to me. Like I need Donkey Kong Country on my roster for sure. Revolution, the Rare came in, and everyone was like, "Oh man, graphics are never going to get better than they are." In this game on a CRT, like it's Donkey Kong Country revolutionized a lot of the platforming genre, in my opinion. I don't need Animal Crossing.
I think we'll
Go
throw
ahead.
you a bone and count DK64 in there with you. It's a rare game.
It's a rare game. We're collecting bananas. There's lots of them.
I feel like he gets Donkey Kong carte blanche. I don't know that we need to
Oh, I mean, if I get that, I'll take King of Swing. I don't need to put him on the field, but I'll take him.
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking at like the official list of franchises here. I agree. You get Donkey Kong as a whole.
I get Donkey Konga too.
You get Donkey
we got
Kongas
the bongos.
for sure.
We got Donkey Kong Jungle Beat.
Yeah,
we got the canceled Donkey Kong Racing for the GameCube. Rest in peace.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm here for it. I'm also going to go ahead and I guess I'll do one power move for the fans. I'm going to take Kirby.
Ooh. Very nice.
Strong.
I'm going to take Kirby.
Very nice. Why?
I feel like there's there's so many different types of Kirby games out there, and even though some of them are like just okay, they still cover a lot of ground in terms of the different types of franchises that they have. But the ones that are good are really good. The 2D platformers, I think, love or hate Forgotten Land. I think it's still very well made. There are people that like will go to bat for that game, and I think that's great. I feel like there's just a lot there that he is the franchise that Nintendo uses when they want to try something weird. Because I feel like they think they have nothing to lose by putting him in those situations. Or at least he's the beta tester franchise, and I'm a guy that likes to tinker, so I'm going to take him.
Yeah, that's an awesome franchise. You got Kirby Air Ride in there, which I love. I think that game is awesome. And yeah, I actually was messing around with Forgotten Land earlier this week. That game's fun. That game is a good time. I really want a sequel to that game with more copy abilities and more of the mouthful mode abilities, because that game was really cool. So that's a good pick. I thought I could sneak Kirby in my back pocket for a couple more rounds, but then you went and swiped him. Well, you made my choice really easy. I'm taking the best-selling Nintendo Switch game besides Mario Kart, which is Animal Crossing. So Animal Crossing,
you can have it.
You probably could have waited until after my picks.
You could have,
yeah. Because
I never would have picked it.
You did your whole like franchise power thing, and Animal Crossing's a mega franchise, so I will grab that one. Yeah, I love Animal Crossing. I also think, to my variety point, this adds really nice variety to my draft because I've got some platformers, Metroidvanias, a multiplayer shooter, and whatever you like to call Animal Crossing are now all in my stable. And I love Animal Crossing. I feel like it's in a little bit of a weird place. I was thinking about New Horizons recently, and it's like, I don't like going back to that game because it just reminds me of the pandemic. And I just don't enjoy booting that back up and just kind of those nostalgic feelings of that time right when that game came out. It was like a godsend for that time, but now it's like, yeah, that is locked away in a different era in the past of my life. And I'm wondering if that will carry through to the next one or if it's a New Horizons specific thing. We don't know yet because there hasn't been anything since it. So I'm curious to see how the next Animal Crossing is received.
Yeah, we were at a family last weekend and my niece was playing it. And even hearing like the sound effects and the music, and I'm kind of explaining to her all the different things that you can do, and it's like all coming back to me, and like as it's happening, like I actually felt myself getting a little bit anxious. I was like, yeah, I don't know that I ever need to revisit that game. Yeah, at least for a good long while.
I'll be ready for the next one though, and that's actually, to be fair, that's kind of how I am with every Animal Crossing. It's like, it is your life until you put it down for a week, and then there's no going back ever. That is how this series just works for some reason. It gets its hooks in you for however long. For New Leaf, for me, it was like 6 months. For New Horizons, it was 2 months because I played like 8 hours a day for the first couple of weeks of that. But once the hooks are gone, they never return. But still, I still think it's a super valuable franchise. I also get Amiibo Festival for whatever that's worth. So the answer is nothing. It's worth nothing. All right, Justin, you get back-to-back picks here, and then after this pick, you'll only have one left. So you have 3 picks left. Chris and I each have 2 left.
Brutal. All right. I get to take Mr. Irrelevant. So I'm going to go with a pick that I think is fairly predictable for me. I'm going to take the Xenoblade Chronicles franchise. I think that, rounding out my lineup with a big, meaty, I don't know if prestige JRPG is the right term for it, but something that is frankly a lot more substantial just as a pure RPG compared to something like the games you got at Pokemon is perfect. I'm a huge fan of this series. I love what they've done with the story, the gameplay, the characters, all these things. It's got a great art style. I think that sort of similar to some of the things we've said about a few of the other ones, I think it's sometimes underrated just how big these games are and how well they sell. These are huge JRPGs when they drop. And so I think that is exactly what my lineup needs. And then I'm going to follow that up with something a little bit different. Logan, you of course took the core Super Mario franchise, so I'm going to take the Luigi franchise.
Nice. Okay.
I want give me those Luigi mansions, 1, 2, and 3. I think that it's something that Nintendo has proven a willingness to reinvest back in, as we saw with Luigi's Mansion 3, which was a frankly fully featured, like decently budgeted game. The fact that we're getting a port of Dark Moon, I think, is a great sign. I don't think we've seen the last of Luigi, and I think as we get to like kind of the mid to late point of the draft, this is what I'm also projecting a little bit, that I think we're going to get a lot more great stuff out of Green Mario here. So he's my next pick.
So what all is included in the Luigi franchise besides the Luigi's Mansion games?
Give him Dr. Luigi. He deserves it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think anything that is explicitly Luigi titled is wrapped up in this.
New Super Luigi U.
That's my game. That's a Super Mario game. Let's be real.
No, it's a Super Luigi game. Can you not read?
It's DLC for a Super Mario game. You have to own a Super Mario.
I don't know, man.
Well,
it was sold in a separate box on the Wii U.
We both get it because I get New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe, of which that is included within.
And
I'll get
the Super Luigi one, which is that game, but not for babies.
Oh wow, he said it. It wasn't me. And you get Luigi's Mansion Arcade, which I've actually played that. I played that once. It was fine. I found it in an arcade near me. Okay, that's a good pick. I was not expecting that. And now I'm thrown for a loop. I think I'm about to make Chris upset.
Don't do it.
Do it.
It's my next pick. Don't do it.
Do it.
Don't do it?
Don't do it. Please.
Do it.
What else should I take at this point?
For the good of the drama of this show,
you haven't said your favorite franchise yet.
Oh, I almost took that just to troll him.
Yeah, because I didn't think anyone else wanted it.
And that's why I didn't.
I mean, I would take it if it. I mean,
yeah,
I'll take it.
Is that a threat?
I feel like that is a threat. I'm just making sure I'm not missing anything big here. I hope Star Fox goes with that. Star Fox is definitely Justin's last pick. Let's be real. He's sitting there waiting to say Star Fox. I know it. I can see it in his eyes. I don't know what I want here. Okay, I'm not gonna take what I think Chris thought I was gonna take. I'm gonna take Pikmin. I'm gonna take Pikmin with my 5th round pick. Is that what you wanted? That is not what I even thought that you wanted.
That's what I thought you were gonna take.
Oh wow, I thought that you thought I was about to swipe Wario from you.
Nope.
Okay,
I'm taking
Pikmin. I think the Pikmin games are so good. I think that Pikmin 4 is the best ever, and I think we're definitely going to get more Pikmin games in the future. I think this is another franchise Nintendo's just going to keep cranking out. I think that every game's been great. I just finished Pikmin 1 actually a couple weeks ago. Super fun, really holds up, really great game. I finished 3 and I adore that one, and 4 is also awesome. Hey Pikmin, sure, I guess that comes along for the ride. All right, Chris. Your last 2 picks. I feel like he's going to pick F-Zero now to spite me, but
I don't even want to play anymore.
I have a backup
He's
plan.
going to pick it and then just bury it.
Yeah, no.
If the rule, excuse me, if the rule is that Luigi means that Justin gets all the Luigi games,
I don't think it
then
does. I don't like that rule. I'm
taking Wario, and I'm getting both Wario Land and WarioWare.
I think that makes perfect sense.
Well, then we should have said Mario was everything.
Yeah, but Mario's too much. Like, it's too powerful.
That's arbitrary. That's an arbitrary
Is
rule.
it? I'm looking at a list of like 12 different franchises with Mario in it.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
too many.
All right, so you get WarioWare and Wario Land. I can live with
Yeah.
that.
I think that's completely
nice.
fair.
And Wario World.
Yeah.
The
And
only
except
entry in that
one
franchise.
Wario World. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's important.
Wario. Yeah, I almost picked Wario because I do want like something fun mini game like that. But
I have 3 platformers.
it.
Do you detect a pattern?
Yes.
Just you trapped on your deserted island playing Wario's
Kind
Woods.
of 4 platformers if you count Smash Brothers. You kind of have 4.
It does have a
Kind of
platform.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and your last pick, Chris?
Oh my god, what was it? Oh. Mother.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. I feel like I need like an RPG, an intellectual man's game, as it were, which you both took Pikmin and Zelda from me, so what else am I going to do?
I think there's a pretty great franchise actually sitting on the board that I'm
Mario
excited
Golf.
to take. Mario Golf is sitting there. Mother's a good pick. You're just never going to see anything from it. You have the value
know.
you have from it.
That's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so Chris, your draft is complete. You got Mario Kart, Super Smash Brothers, Donkey Kong, Kirby, Wario, and Mother. How do you feel about it?
I feel like it's the island of misfit toys. It's like it's the top tier, and then it's just the island of misfit toys. Is like the second half. That's fine.
It is a very Chris list, I feel.
It really is.
Yeah. Okay, I'm looking to complete my draft here. And F-Zero is the obvious choice for me, but I don't know if I'm going to take it.
Oh, I know what you're going to take.
What do you think I'm going to take?
Paper Mario.
Yeah, I was surprised that was left until all the way here. I am going to take Paper Mario. I think it has a stronger future than F-Zero does, as sad as that makes me. I think that I'm also lacking an RPG on my list, so that rounds that out nicely. And we're getting a freaking 1000-Year Door remake in 6 weeks. That's huge, and there's definitely going to be more Paper Mario games. So I can't just say Mario RPG and get them all.
I think you can.
I feel like you could.
Yeah, like the Mario and Luigi games and things like that.
Sure.
So to me, your first pick was effectively Mario as a platforming franchise.
Yes.
And I think with this pick, you're taking Mario as an RPG franchise. And again, to me, that makes sense. I'm not the commissioner. I don't have the hat with the M on it.
Works for me though, because it makes my draft stronger. I like that. So yeah, Mario RPG. So I get the Mario and Luigi series, which is also great. Most of those games are really, really good.
Little inside story.
Yes, that game's awesome.
Yep.
Sometimes I can't believe a game where you play as Bowser like that exists. That is so cool. That game's amazing. So my final draft is Super Mario, Metroid, Splatoon, Animal Crossing, Pikmin, and Mario RPGs. I love that.
I don't know how you managed to get that.
I'm a big fan. Yeah, because you took Kirby in the 4th round. It was too early.
Yeah.
I love the guy. But, yeah.
Strong list.
Okay, Justin, with Mr. Irrelevant, who are you taking?
Give me the Mario sports franchises.
Okay.
So
we're sitting here debating.
Wait, what does that mean?
Tennis and baseball and.
Wait, you could just do that? I would have picked that way sooner. I was like, Mario Golf. Do I really want to dedicate Mario Golf? I would have picked that like second.
So I think based on the criteria that we literally just discussed 20 seconds ago, like Mario as Logan has Mario as a platformer. He has Mario as an RPG. So I think taking Mario as a sports icon is on the table based on that criteria.
Okay.
Am I?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Am I being unreasonable?
No, I get it.
Yeah, and then looking at Chris's draft,
if we're going strictly
everything DK is ever in, or everything Kirby.
That's what I mean. That's like the.
And that's the thing. I feel like, and because like franchises can be so nebulous, because like it's a character, it's a type of game, and
right.
I think we did the right thing by being fairly open and accommodating and like trying to put a lot of things under one umbrella, because otherwise we're like subdividing tiny slices of things in a way that I think
that's what I was afraid of. Yeah
and so I think taking these is in keeping with the approach we've taken for this whole thing.
You're getting some good games in there, getting some good and some really.
You got Toadstool Tour.
So great.
You won
Strikers. Like I think it is exactly what I need to round out what I feel like has been a near ideal draft for my team.
So here's the final results. Justin has The Legend of Zelda, Fire Emblem, Pokemon, Xenoblade, Luigi's Mansion, Luigi. I wrote Luigi's Mansion. I'm changing it to Luigi to get those like 2 additional spin-offs.
I mean, if it is Luigi's Mansion, that's fine too.
And then I ended with Super Mario, Metroid, Splatoon, Animal Crossing, Pikmin, and the Mario RPGs. And Chris ended with Mario Kart, Super Smash Brothers, Donkey Kong, Kirby, Wario, and Mother. Those are the lists. We'll tweet them out once a little bit after this episode goes up, so you can go and vote for your favorite team. And write into us, toadstoolboardroom@gmail.com, to tell us who you think had the best draft and why. But real quick, I want to ask you guys, what are the best franchises that nobody picked? F-Zero, it hurts me I didn't pick it, but I just felt like I was trying to make my team the best it could be. Future casting. I did not expect to get... I got 4 like Nintendo like EPD franchises, which surprised me. I did not expect that to happen. So F-Zero got left on the board. I'm surprised that Justin did not throw on Star Fox with your final pick. Were you thinking about it?
No, I wasn't. And like that's nothing to do with the fact that my love for Star Fox is considerable. However, it is a frankly fairly dormant, would be generous at this point.
Yeah.
It's a fairly dead franchise, and there's not enough good games, frankly, in this back catalog to justify a pick on it. I honestly, I would almost be more tempted to take something like Pilot Wings that had a couple of absolute bangers as like a deep cut pick, and especially because it has so much variety in gameplay across like the original Pilot Wings or Pilot Wings 64. And I think they got either a Wii or Wii U edition of that. Of some
the
sort.
3DS one.
There we go. So like that would have
title.
Yeah, that would have been much more intriguing to me. And again, that's despite my love for Star Fox and my belief that like with the right person at the helm, and not just the helm of the R-Wing, you could make something really good and compelling out of that.
Yeah, we'll see if they ever do. But I was sure one of you guys was going to take that. Rhythm Heaven is one that it's small. I love that franchise.
I thought that one. I thought the Wii games like Wii Sports, Wii Fit, and looking at that list. Well, most of them aren't, but Wii Sports still holds up.
Well, and there's, I mean, there is a number, like, there's a bunch of, like, Nintendo DS franchises that, again, are really dormant that I think could, like, once upon a time would have been really intriguing picks. Like, Nintendogs had a million titles in a row that were really popular. Like, you think I wouldn't love to play a new Elite Beat Agents? Hello, give me that right now.
Punch Out.
Wave
Race.
Punch Out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Punch Out's a really good call. That's another one I'd love to see make a comeback. But there's a cool game coming up that kind of scratches that itch a little bit. And like I'm a little surprised that we didn't touch on anything like Brain Age, but that's another one that really kind of went by the wayside.
Yeah.
But they had Big Brain Academy on Switch.
Yeah,
years back,
and so it's kind of like tepidly alive. Like. I certainly don't think I have custody of Detective Pikachu, but that's out there.
No. Did you guys know that there was a Wii Karaoke U in Japan and Europe, and we never got it?
No, we got Sing Party on launch. Is that a different game?
It's a different game. It's an eShop only game.
Crazy.
Yeah, I did not Nintendo published it. Yeah, by Joy Sound.
No, but Logan, you get custody of Wii Music.
No, I don't want it.
What about the demo that was given at Nintendo E3 2009? Do you want that of Wii Music
for
of the guy playing drums?
No, I'll pass.
No, but can I have the any of the Space World Zelda demos from back in the day?
Oh yeah, you can have those like video files on your team.
That is
the Wii U demo.
That is so hype. I'll take it.
Nice. Mm-hmm. I think that if we posted these three lists, people would be able to guess who made which one. I think pretty easily. People would be able to guess
very easily.
I don't even think it'd be a question.
Yeah.
I think that's very, very accurate. I am curious, for everybody who did like listen closely and follow along closely, if you can identify like any specific picks where you were like screaming in your head, take this, and somebody took something different, what those picks would have been. I'm really curious to see what people value and like where they think is the appropriate spot to take different selections.
I will say I would have taken Mario Sports like maybe third had I considered that was like the rule at that point.
Third, man, I think you're overvaluing how good some of those games are. The Mario Sports franchises,
I don't know, man.
Like, they're fine.
So, like, literally, it would have been only behind Mario and Zelda.
Well, no. I mean, like,
third
I have
round.
Super Mario. So I had Smash
your
Brothers,
third
Mario
pick,
Kart.
not third overall.
Not third overall. Yeah,
gotcha. Okay, you had me stunned.
Yeah.
I
not
think
that good.
I messed up on Pokemon. I should have taken it over Metroid, but I like Metroid more, so I'm okay with it. I'm happy I can go play Metroid Dread on my deserted island.
And I will take approximately 100 times the unit sales.
That's true. Yeah, I have just been thinking recently, like, what are the 5 best Nintendo franchises? Which is why I wanted to do this exercise with you guys. Before I told you that's what I've been thinking about. And based on this draft, we said Zelda, Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, and Metroid are the 5 best Nintendo franchises. And that's pretty good. I don't know if you can really go wrong with that. Yeah. I personally, I knew I could sit on it a little bit. I think Splatoon is a top 5 Nintendo franchise at this point. And I don't think Pokemon is. Like, I think a lot of people would put in it. But off the top of your guys' head, do you know what you would say are the top 5 Nintendo franchises? Or do you think it's that list that we just said?
I I cannot put Metroid on that list, even though it would be on there for me personally. And again, that's based off of the fact that it's never really hit like other games have hit. So I think that the top two are pretty clear. I think that Pokemon has to be there too. Again, it is a franchise of unimaginable power that it exceeds video games and does a lot. Outside of that, I do think it's a sort of a question of like flavors. I like earlier when I said that I think Splatoon is a pillar. I mean it. So I think it's absolutely potentially one of those 5. Outside of that, like again, if we differentiate, boy, it would be really hard to exclude Smash or Mario Kart. So I don't know. It's hard.
Yeah, they've got so much franchise power. It's just kind of insane how many different hits they have. Chris, how about you? What are the top 5 Nintendo franchises?
I feel like it's Mario, Zelda, Smash, Mario Kart. I don't know that I would include. I wouldn't include Pokemon. I want to include Metroid, but like Justin said, I completely agree. It's just that there were so many lulls in that franchise over so many different periods of time.
It's like the art house Nintendo fans pick.
Yeah, like weirdly enough, I want to believe it. I want to believe the same way that Miyamoto believes that it's Pikmin, but I don't think it is. Like I just don't think there's that many people playing Pikmin.
I think your answer at the cross center with the 4 that you have of quality and sales is Splatoon or Animal Crossing. Yeah, but those I don't know. That's
So here's I will say. I think that I'm much lower on Animal Crossing as a franchise. Not just like my own personal taste on the games, but like I think that what the most recent one did was it was exactly the right game at exactly the right time. And I think it is unlikely that we're going to be at that time again when we see it, when we see the next entry.
I hope so.
Right. And so I really don't think the franchise is as big in the world today as it appeared at that time.
I have a bet with Odell about this exact same topic, which is that he said the next Animal Crossing won't crack 20 million units sold, and I told him with the contingency that the next Nintendo console has a good install base, like it's not a Wii U.
Yeah,
that's crazy talk. That I absolutely think that it will, because even New Leaf sold very, very well. It sold, let's see, New Leaf on the 3DS sold 13 million. So that's still a lot for.
I feel like when that bet happened, I was more leaning towards your side of history there, and I'm not inclined to do so again. I think there's a lot of people that over COVID bought Switches just for that game because social media was going nuts over it. And people to this day that I know that bought Switch just to play Animal Crossing are still only playing that game. But I don't know that they would necessarily do it all over again.
I think that
New Horizon. Go for it, Justin.
I think that a lot of the forces we saw inflating that game have left, and I think it is the same thing that was inflating the size and value of a lot of websites and things like that, and that affected a lot of web traffic in a really positive manner. And I think that positive pressure is largely gone. So I think I'm pretty confidently with Odell on this one.
I'm going to stick with it with 20 million because I look at it, I see Wild World sold 12 million, New Leaf sold 13 million on a console with significantly less of an install base than that's DS to 3DS, and then New Horizons sold 45 million. So you're telling me that fewer than half of the people that have bought that game are going to go get it again, and that's not even accounting for people who didn't get New Horizons this will be their first Animal Crossing. I think it's a surefire bet for 20 million.
I feel like the way that this bet makes more sense is to go by percentages. Like you need to look at what is the number of
attach rate.
Yeah, like what is the attach rate of people that owned a Switch and owned Animal Crossing at the same time? Because what if the new Switch launches with Animal Crossing? Like,
Yeah.
you automatically lose the bet. You know what I mean?
No, it's lifetime sales. It needs to hit 20 million over its life.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
to me, if you look at all of the Animal Crossing games, we have again the next two highest selling 13 million, 11 million. Everything else is like 3-ish million, and then you have one substantial outlier in a worldwide outlier. I'm going to bet that is the outlier.
Okay, so project if the next Nintendo console finishes, we'll be hopeful and say 100 million people buy the next thing, which I think is fair because 3DS did about 90 million, and that followed up the DS, so it's a fair comp, I think. How many copies will Animal Crossing sell?
Yeah, if we're going to set an over-under, give me 19.999 and below, and you take 20 and above.
Yeah. Okay. How about you, Chris? What do you think?
If we're saying they sell 100 million, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I do like 17.
And that's kind of where. So
I guess you guys are close. You're right there.
Yeah,
you're close to 20.
Yeah.
I feel like 1.5 times what they have historically done is a reasonable bet.
I feel like 1 in 5 people is just too many. I could be dead wrong. It's just like the circumstances of that game's existence were so unique, or the attach rate of that game were so unique compared to every other game in the franchise. And I mean, the other thing to consider is like the next Nintendo console, very likely, obviously we don't know anything, like it's going to be a lot different than when the Switch came out. Like when the Switch came out, it is the only hybrid console that exists. Like that's completely different now. Now you have how many handheld gaming PCs that can dock, and not that that's the core audience, but like there are definitely people that they grew up with a Switch and they're going to age up and be like, I want something a little beefier that plays Call of Duty, and like that generation is going to want more out of their console. Like I don't know that they'll necessarily get that out. I could be wrong, but like I don't know that they're going to get that out of the next Nintendo thing that comes out. We're always going to buy it. You know what I mean? Like, we'll always be there, but.
Yeah, I mean, look behind me. I will always be there. I always have been, and I'll always be there, no matter what they're putting out. In the Wii U generation, I was even still there. But I think you just brought up a really interesting point, Chris, which is the hybrid console market is super crowded now because of the Switch. I have noticed a weird trend online of people crediting the Steam Deck, and I'm like, okay, I guess like it started the PC version of all this, but I think you need to go back a few more years to see where that really started.
I
back
think
to November 2012, a little thing called the Wii U. Just kidding.
To take nothing away from the Steam Deck, I think really the only thing that the Steam Deck proved is that you could make your own version of the Switch.
People would buy it. People would show
exactly.
Up for it.
That's the only concept that it proved.
Yeah. And so that's been a weird trend I've noticed. It's like, wow, the Steam Deck just kicked off this wave, and I'm like, okay, I guess it did a PC hybrid.
Hold up your 3 different Switches, and you're like, what?
Well, and what's even weirder about it is like if you look at like Justin probably remembers this, like during the PS3 era, like when Shovel Knight came out. Granted, I know that was a Wii game, a Wii U game, and a 3DS game when it came out, but just stick with me.
Yeah, Nintendo exclusive.
When you bought Shovel Knight, you got a copy of it on PS3, PS Vita, and PS4. They had that cross-buy
baby, let's go.
For for a lot of their games that they would put out. And what Steam is doing now is like pretty much the same thing. Like if you want to play something on your computer, you can do that. If you have a living room PC, you can do that.
It's literally why I bought a Steam Deck. Right.
It's why a lot of people did, because they went, wow, I have a library of like 1,000 games that I can just take with me wherever I go. And with Nintendo, but like that's the result of like if you were already a PC gamer, you're getting that and then some, right? Like people want to be able to play on the couch and stuff. The difference with Nintendo is like you buy the Nintendo thing to play Nintendo games. And I think what's going to be the metric that's going to be really interesting to watch. This is like totally off topic. I'm just like rambling at this point.
Go for it.
What's going to be interesting next generation is like the attach rate of indie titles on Nintendo consoles, because I think you're going to have a lot of people that maybe they bought and played like Hollow Knight and Celeste and like all these other kinds of titles on their Switch because they wanted to play it on the couch. And now they've moved on, or they're games that don't require a lot of power. They're like, well, I have a computer. I'll just get it on Steam and then I can play it on the deck or whatever. whatever my portable handheld PC is. And like, I believe more in that library than I do Nintendo's, because they haven't shown me with my wallet that like they're going to honor that I'm going to be able to. The 3DS store is gone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they haven't given me a reason to trust that is going to be sticking around. Steam's been around since I was in high school. Like, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. But one thing Nintendo will beat all these new ones on is price. Steam Decks are what, $500 to $600 to $700, depending on the screen you get and the storage you get. A Switch isn't going to be. A Switch is going to be $400 tops, I would say. A Switch 2, $400.
I feel like it has to be, just because
they're in trouble.
Inflation.
Or better be a beast.
I'd drop $450 on it.
Yeah. Oof.
You need a dock.
I don't think a Nintendo console's ever cost that much. Yeah, what's the most? I think the OLED is the most expensive Nintendo console's ever been.
Let's be real.
$50, because the Wii U launched at that too.
Yeah, I mean that's more complex because we'd also have to adjust for things like inflation from like the 80s.
But also,
and does it come with a robot?
Yeah, I wish.
If you're buying a Switch, day one,
I should have drafted Rob the Robot. Damn it!
You should have gotten Gyromite,
right?
Yeah.
And that's it.
But if you're buying a Switch day one, you're probably buying a Pro controller and at least 2 games with it, right?
Yeah.
Like, same with the next Nintendo console. You're already dropping like $700 on this thing.
Yeah.
Can
I'm still really curious to see what the hook is for the next thing, because if it is just a better Switch, you're going to have people like me, who I don't have a Steam Deck. I play mostly on Switch, who will only compare it to what I already have, which is the hardware from 2017, beefed up with an OLED screen a few years ago. But then you're going to have people like Chris Shriver, who's going to be like, oh, but this doesn't hold a candle to my Steam Deck. And I am curious to see the reception of that, because it's a different market now. When they came out with the Switch, it was okay that it was underpowered because it was the only thing like it that existed. We jumped from the 3DS and the Vita to the Switch. It's huge. And it's
I mean, that was
like
that was the point of comparison, was the Vita when it came out.
Yeah.
It was like, this is what we all wanted the Vita to be.
Yeah. And the Wii U. It's like if the
And
Wii
the
U
Wii
and
U.
the Vita had a baby.
Yeah.
Nintendo Switch.
Man, I will say the Vita did a lot right. It's a shame that it was never supported.
It was never popular, and that they have proprietary memory cards. And
yep. Oh yeah. Wait, its biggest problem is it was a Sony product.
Yeah, exactly.
If you had told me 2 years ago that the Vita would be dethroned as Sony's least supported hardware, I would not believe you. But just look at the PSVR 2. Oh my god. I cannot even believe what they've done with that.
Yeah.
Oh, is Justin have
Justin,
one?
Oh yeah.
Do you have one?
Oh yeah. It's in this tub.
Oh wow.
Oh,
It's
when was the last time it was plugged in?
Oh god, when I was reviewing Horizon Call of the Mountain.
when Sony actually released the title for it.
Yep. Yes.
Watch that.
When they released the game for it, yeah.
Yeah. It's coming to PC though.
When you Horizon is?
No, they're putting they're
PSVR 2
creating some
support,
kind of compatibility, for PSVR 2 on PC.
Yeah, so $550 headset.
Yeah, man. Ugh, drives me crazy.
But if you own a Quest 3, then there's no point. Like, that's just a better headset. Anyway.
Is it?
So that's what people say. I don't know. I guess because of the wireless functionality.
I'd have to compare the specs. I will say it's like the like resolution is
well, it's OLED, isn't it? The PSVR 2,
and you have like a pair of 4K screens and stuff. Like it's a good piece of technology, like the Vita. It's a really good piece of technology that just has been absolutely abandoned by Sony.
God. So
it's
sad.
tough when you can actually directly compare the number of PSVR 2 games with the number of Virtual Boy games, and that's not even a joke. Exclusives. It's not even a joke. There's more Virtual Boy exclusives than PSVR 2 exclusives. Okay, let's answer our listener question for the week, and then we'll get out of here. You can always email the show, toadstoolboardroom@gmail.com, with your listener questions. This first one comes from, or the first and only, comes from Christian, who says, when reviewing a game, how much do you allow your opinion of a previous entry in a series affect the review score you give to a new game in that same series? For example, I feel like Tears of the Kingdom is an improvement of Breath of the Wild in every way. However, a lot of people give Breath of the Wild higher marks for being a revolution in the series, where Tears of the Kingdom was more of an evolution. Another game that falls into this category is Octopath Traveler 2. It was better than the first in every way, but it didn't get the amount of hype and discord the first got, despite being superior. All right, Justin, what do you think of this?
That's a really good question, and I think as a reviewer, that is a question you should be asking yourself. To me, a lot of it comes down to evaluating how important any aspect like this is to a title. Some things are sequels or they're parts of a franchise, and the fact that previous titles exist aren't that material to what you're playing or what you're doing. Sometimes they are either for story reasons or because it is like, mechanically rehashing a lot of what it just built. Like, look at something like the Final Fantasy VII remakes, right? I think that as a reviewer, the existence of Final Fantasy remake is important context for how you're looking at Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Thank you.
I got you.
And so it is largely a title by title thing, and at the same time, like new gameplay mechanics, innovations, things like that, how much they matter, it'll vary by title. Like, again, for something like Tears of the Kingdom, it does a lot of stuff that is really new and really creative and really innovative, and sort of like a new piece of art that is doing things in a different and unusual and creative way. Just the fact that it can do this and it does it with a level of mastery is something that, as a reviewer, like, I do point to, and I think is something that is important and is critical to communicate to a reader or a viewer of a review of it. At the same time, if the next game copies exactly that mechanic and exactly unchanged, it does matter that it's not that it's not new and innovative. That doesn't mean that you like mark it down, and like reviews don't work that way. You're not like adding or subtracting points necessarily, but doing something new and creative and surprising is generally something that you will look at pretty favorably and pretty positively. And so it may still be successful at it and work well at it, but the fact that it's not new or innovative or creative will absolutely affect the way that you look at it. Again, it doesn't mean you mark it down. It doesn't mean that you'll think less of it. Like, it could execute it beautifully, and the fact that it's doing more of this fantastic thing is a cool thing. But at the same time, the potential to really surprise you and blow you away with what it achieves will be changed. So reviewing is the furthest thing from a checkbox. It is the furthest thing from, like, you have a very cut and dry like list that you go down and you give it like +1, -1, +1, -1. It is so much more about the total package and what it achieves. And as we dial down into these more like microscopic topics, it really is how it feeds it as a total package and is providing context for why it as a piece of art is where it is. And again, like the legacy of the series is, or like can be a part of that, but sometimes it's not.
Yeah, I often wonder, it's really hard to know how much, I don't think there's any intentional Nintendo or PlayStation bias that reviewers assign to things when they're reviewing them, but take something like Mario Wonder. If that was some new IP, how would that have scored? If Penny's Big Breakaway actually had Sonic in it instead of Penny, how would it have scored? Like, I do wonder that sometimes, like, because you are assigning baggage, some good, some bad, to a game when you add it in that franchise. Like, sometimes something like Sonic Mania, it's still a Sonic game. It scored incredibly well because it's like, wow, this is better than any other Sonic game. But if it was like Freedom Planet, which people don't care nearly as much about as they care about Sonic, I don't think it gets as high of marks. So I think that's something interesting that I try to think about sometimes, like, how much do we let the franchise impact us? As for the previous entry thing, yeah, I've actually been having a lot of like sequelitis lately and not really enjoying sequels to things nearly as much as the original. But I think that is because, with the huge exception to Tears of the Kingdom, which is a entirely different game than Breath of the Wild, despite taking place in the same world as it, I play something like Spider-Man 2 or Horizon Forbidden West or God of War Ragnarok. Are you sensing a theme? Are you sensing a publisher these games all come from? And I'm like, wow, this is not doing anything for me that the original did, because the original was the first time I experienced something like that. And now it's not like that. Yeah. And I'm experiencing that right now with Rebirth, which tries a lot of new things. It has this open world. It introduces all of these new minigames. It evolves the combat in a cool way, but it's not Remake. And Remake was so cool. And I had not played Remake before, and now Rebirth, I'm just comparing it to Remake, and I don't like it nearly as much. So it's difficult. I think that also I have a problem, though, in the industry in general, where fans think that every new entry needs to be the best ever. And I think we have a big problem with that, where if it's not the best ever, then it's a disappointment. And I don't agree with that. I don't think everything always needs to be bigger and better than the last to still be worthwhile and enjoyable. So, yeah, I don't know if any of that made sense, but it's difficult when you're talking about a franchise and trying to compare it to itself, because something like Zelda, some people hate Breath of the Wild because it's not Ocarina of Time anymore, and some people love it exactly for that same reason. And yeah, I think it's really interesting evaluating franchises like that, and how much the previous one matters, and how much franchises are allowed to change and fans still want to accept it. But Chris, I want to hear from you on this too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a delicate dance because it'll, like, I think a large part of it is like, what is it that the developers, what is the mission statement of like that game? Like, what is that developer trying to make, and do they execute it well? Like, is that clear, or is it kind of a jumbled mess? And I think you can, if you've played enough video games, I feel like you can tell pretty quickly. I feel like Final, and not that I think Rebirth is a jumbled mess, nor have I played it, just what I've watched my wife play, but that's an interesting one because like Remake is so linear. Like it is. Final Fantasy VII, the Uncharted game, is kind of how it feels. Like it is so linear. There really isn't much openness there at all. Whereas Rebirth, like, you could spend hours upon hours upon hours in side quests, and if that's your thing, great. But as someone who is limited on time, doesn't really care that much about those kinds of things, and even my wife has said the same thing. Like, she kind of misses how focused Remake was at, like, it was telling a really compelling story in a really unique way, and it's really easy to get distracted in that game specifically, because of all the side content. And it's a delicate balance of trying to, like, you want to expand the world, but you don't want it to be too much noise, or you don't want it to feel like padding and nothing. And I feel like that game specifically has a lot of padding to it for reasons I don't know. And I think it's a big problem for a lot of games in the industry right now, is like they add content for the sake of adding content. And it's like, well, what are we actually getting out of this other than dragging out the leveling system if it's an RPG or something like that? But I think there are definitely cases where it's personal preference. Like, if you're somebody that looks at like Halo 1, I know people that love Halo 1 and hate Halo 2. Nice.
It's an all-timer.
But people love it because a lot of people love Halo 1 because of how confined it is, and it almost has that like Metroid effect where you're like walking in a hallway and it feels very claustrophobic. Halo 2 has a lot of moments that are not like that, where it's a lot more open. You're in Banshees, you might jump from, one area to the next in that. Like, it's just, the scope of it is completely different. There's dual wielding, like the mechanics are completely different in that regard. Like, they introduce a lot there. In a lot of ways, on paper, it's probably better, but like, to some people it isn't. The pistol's not as good in Halo 2. Like, there's all these little things that you can kind of chip away at. And ultimately it comes down to, okay, of the decisions that have been made, was it for the greater good of the game overall? And like, do you think it'll please the fan base? Is it better for the franchise moving forward? Or does it serve as, okay, here's a list of things that, like, we tried it, people weren't happy with it. In hindsight, maybe we shouldn't have done it that way, and we change it, moving forward for the next game, and hopefully that game's a little bit better. But you learn from it. One last example is like Tears of the Kingdom. I am the guy on the show that doesn't like that game. And so for the listener question, like, I feel like I still score Breath of the Wild the same way that I scored it when I originally played it. I still think of that game the same way that I originally played it. And Tears of the Kingdom, not that it's not like it takes anything away from Breath of the Wild, nor do I think it's lacking what Breath of the Wild has. I think content-wise, a lot of it's still there. It's just what has been added on top of it. I have to ask myself, like, do I actually want this? Do I want to spend my time with this? It's hard. Like, I don't review games. I never have, outside of like on podcasts and things like that. But it is what IGN at least tries to get out to people is, It is a reflection of the person that played that game's impression of that game and what they thought of it. From as academic of a stance as you could make is probably the best way I could put it. Yeah,
I think
my long rant.
No, I think you're exactly right, and I think that especially like when we're comparing sequels or things like that, really, being the same isn't automatically good or bad. Being different isn't automatically good or bad. You have to evaluate these elements on their own merits, right? And can there be some context because of what came before? Absolutely, but it's also not about that. You're not reviewing. We're not re-legislating old games. We're talking about what's here now in the context of today. And when we do a review, you have to be conscious of those things.
Very good. Great stuff, guys. That's all the time we have, though, this week in the boardroom. I kept you a little long. Sorry about that. That's it, though. Another episode in the books. We're here
I could talk reviews all day.
I know. It's fun. It's fun.
It is my favorite type of writing to do.
We're here noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, video version on YouTube, or wherever else you like to listen to your podcast. Justin, you said you've been doing a lot of writing. What do you have to plug, and where can people find it?
Yeah, keep an eye on digitaltrends.com. I mentioned my best of list. That's my Visions of Mana interview is up now, so if you want to see me nerd out with another Secret of Mana sicko, that's a great place to do it. I also had my Killer Clowns from Outer Space piece is up now, so definitely check that stuff out. Otherwise, just find me on Twitter at KOREIS. I'm starting to work on my next round of pitches, so we'll see if I get some stories lined up somewhere in the near future.
Awesome. Chris, how about you? Or where can people find you?
You can find me on Shrives93 on Instagram, Twitter, all that social media garbage. I recently just got a Mega SG from Crix, if you're familiar with what that is. Basically, it's Genesis and Sega CD flash cart. So if there are any Genesis titles or Sega CD title, I know nothing about the Sega CD at all. So if there, especially that one, if there's any titles on that console that you are very fond of, I accept any and all recommendations at this point.
Sonic CD,
Battletoads Double Dragon, one of the best beat 'em ups I think that's ever been made.
Okay.
Nice. Very cool. You can find me at Logan J. Plant and recovering from this cold that you've probably been listening to me deal with all episode long. And yeah, I'm not really working on anything specific to shout out right now. You can find the show on Twitter at ToadstoolBR. Email us toadstoolboardroom@gmail.com. Remember to write in or find us on Twitter. Who had the best Nintendo franchise draft? We want to know. We want to share the results next week. But until next time, thanks so much for listening. Have a great week. We'll catch you next time right here in the Toadstool Boardroom.